I'd like to show you a function that I only recently became aware of, but I think it's a really useful function for when we're doing paint routines with panels. So let's add a panel to this interface. And we'll get a reference to it. And we'll declare a paint routine. And now I'll hit F5 and the panel will vanish because it's expecting us to draw it in the paint routine. One thing I usually do in my paint routines is I get the area of the entire panel and I put it into a variable called A, and then I can use that throughout the rest of the paint routine whenever I need to refer to the XY width or height of the panel. So I'll do something like this. So now this gives me the internal X, Y, width and height of the panel. And then I could maybe fill in a rectangle. So I'd set the color first of all. And then I'd fill a rectangle. And for the area, I can just put A. And then that fills the entire panel. So I do this like most of the time in my paint routines. But sometimes you don't want the panel to fill entirely. You only want to draw a rectangle, say, in the middle of the panel because you've got other things you want to draw. Maybe you're going to add drop shadows and that kind of thing. So what I then usually do is I take my A and I'll do something like this. So I'll have X, Y, width and height. And then let's say I want to come in from the right hand side. So that'd be the width by maybe 200. Or let's say 100, so I'd do minus 100. So that would bring it in there. And then maybe from the bottom I want to come in by 100 as well. So I'll do the same thing. And then I also want to push it across so it's still centered, because it's not centered in the panel there. So I have to push it across by 50 and then down by 50. And there we go. I get a smaller square now in the same panel in the center. But this was quite a bit of calculating I just had to do there. And I found a function that means it's not necessary to do that at all. And I didn't know about this function, and it's really useful. So I'm going to show you that. So we'll replace that with A. So now instead of declaring the A area manually like this, there's actually a function called getLocalBounds that will give us the same thing. So if I do this dot getLocalBounds, and we'll put a 0 in there. I'll tell you about that in a moment. And I hit F5, you can see it gives us exactly the same thing. So our A variable, let's console print that out actually. So we're getting 0, 0, and then the width and the height. So just like we were when we were writing it manually, but now we don't have to write it manually. So this 0 we've put here gives us an amount we can shrink the bounds by. So we can, if we want to shrink by 100, we type in 100, and now if I hit F5, you can see it's now brought it down on all dimensions by 100. So it's done all that calculation I had to do manually, it's done it for us. And we do like 50. So it just makes it really easy to do this kind of thing. And then if we wanted to add a drop shadow, we could do that. And for the area though, we want it to be the full rectangle. So in this case, we could write it out like that, or we can use the function again and do this.getLocalBounds 0. For the color, we'll have it black. And for the radius, we'll do something like 10. Oh, that's too much. Let's try 5. Oh, of course, we've done the local bounds right to the edge, so we actually need to bring it in a bit. So if we bring it in by 10, there we go, we can bring it in further. So it's more of a drop shadow just around the rectangle. So something like that. So this getLocalBounds function is just a really nice way of doing this kind of thing without having to calculate the X, Y, width and height manually or writing it out manually. And you can see how flexible it is here, just putting in different values to compress the dimensions by. Alright, I hope you found this quick tip useful. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.